Okay, so welcome everyone to the Where Are We Going Next podcast. A podcast about travel for travelers, brought to you by travelers. Today I have a very interesting guest who I'm super excited to speak to. So Lucy, could you please introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and where
Yeah,
online
sure.
everyone can find you?
Yeah, no worries. I'm Lucy Palaki. I'm a travel blogger slash photographer with a company called WorldWanderingLens, which is my own company. Half Greek, 24 years old, going on 25 next year, sadly. And that's about it, really.
And so your Instagram is at World Wandering Lens.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right. Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone should definitely go check it out. Honestly, your pictures are amazing.
Thank you.
Um, so yeah, let's get straight into it. When did you first start traveling? Is it something that you grown up with, or you started when you were 18? Tell us about that.
No, I literally grew up, I suppose. Because I was born in Greece, because I'm half Greek. So I
Oh,
was
nice.
born in Greece, lived there for 5 years, and then moved to the UK when I was five. So I suppose I can't remember it, obviously, but I was going back and forth to England to see like my grandparents and things, and then
Mhm.
I would go back to Greece and live there. And then when I obviously came to the UK, I did the opposite way around. So I went over to Greece to see my dad and my family, and then came back to the UK and lived. Obviously, have lived here ever since. So I guess I've always travelled. I can't even remember the first memory I've had of me traveling because I've done so much now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I've always done it.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a very hectic but exciting childhood.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what my mum was going through bringing
Yeah.
two kids onto the plane by herself. That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Props to your mum.
Yeah.
Um, so since you've kind of gone to other places other than Greece and England, sort of how many trips have you done, I guess?
I think I've visited 12 countries, I think, off the
Oh,
top of my
nice.
head. So it's not that many considering how many there is in the world. But I trip-wise, I have no idea. Um, because I've done weekends away and longer stays as well.
Mhm.
Um, so I've done a fair few, I would say, because a lot of the time I'm going back to the same sort of the same country, but obviously different places each time. So
Yeah,
um, yeah,
yeah.
quite a few trips, I suppose.
But that's a lot of countries are very big, and there's a lot of stuff to see.
So much to
And one
see,
trip
so
is
little time.
definitely exactly. There's a lot of countries I've been to, and I've thought, yeah, 2 days was not enough.
Yeah,
um,
no, completely agree.
yeah. Um, So how do you like to travel? Are you a solo traveler? Do you travel with friends?
Um, it's really weird because I have done both. I think I would probably prefer to go solo just because
Hmm.
when you do go solo, you get to do what you want to do.
Yeah,
Obviously, if you go
totally.
with your friends, it's to be fair, the only time I've gone with my friends is either like a party holiday where you just drink the whole time. So
Yeah, I've been on a few of
it's a
those.
little bit different. Yeah, it's a little bit different. Whereas
Hmm.
when I've gone solo traveling, I don't obviously I don't really do that. So I tend to
Yeah,
just actually explore a little bit more. And I actually prefer to explore rather than going clubbing and getting drunk and
yeah,
hungover. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, I totally agree with you there. I also find that traveling alone, because I'm like you, I love to explore, and when you're with your friends, they're like, oh, I don't want to get up so early, or I don't want to go here. It's just so much easier when you're on your own. You
Yeah.
can just do what you like.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you have the freedom as well. Like if you want to stay out late, you can stay out late. You don't have to,
Mm.
not in a horrible way, but you don't have to think about other people.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
with your friends, you do have to consider everyone. So, um, and everyone's feelings, and if you're there for too long or you have a row, it's just a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? You
Oh
can't
yeah.
escape. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No,
But solo
totally.
traveling does get lonely. So they both have their pros and their cons. So it's
Yeah,
nice to have
yeah,
the company
definitely.
with friends, but I suppose when you're solo traveling, you meet people
Mm.
as well. So
Yeah, that's the thing. Like solo traveling, because when you're with friends, you're so much less motivated to talk to people you don't know, because you're obviously with people you know already. But when you're on your own, you're more kind of like, yeah, okay, I really want to meet people. And I've met some amazing people traveling on my own. Um,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so no, yeah, totally. Um, so following on from that, it sounds like you're kind of more of a budget traveler. You like the whole hostel life.
I am, and I'm not. It's really weird because before I used to go to like hotels and I would book through like travel, like the big travel agents.
Hmm.
Um, but I haven't. Recently I've been doing a lot of my own organizing of holidays and stuff through different websites. And um, yeah, I think for me, I am budget, but I try to incorporate budget within luxury, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
try to make it as cheap as possible for me, but I don't mind staying in hostels because I've literally done that for the past probably 2 to 3 years.
Hmm.
Um, but I think now after coming back from my Australian trip a few months ago, I think I need a bit of a break from hostels. I'm
Oh,
probably going for
really?
the more Airbnb. Yeah, my hostels were great though. That's the thing. Like there was nothing against them. Got some really nice ones. But I think it's having your own space. And obviously,
Yeah.
people have, some people want to go out, you might not get much sleep or they disturb you. And yeah, I
Pros and
mean, I don't mind
cons.
doing either. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same as, I suppose, again, it's pros and cons with everything. But I think for me, I try to get the cheapest deal, but I also try and find something that's quite nice. And
Mm.
if you can get it, obviously, in like your own place, then that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally hear what you're saying. There's definitely been times when I've been in a hostel and I think, okay, I could do with, not having so many people in this room right
Yeah,
now. But again, pros and cons, I guess it is the best way to meet people, especially when traveling on your own.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's definitely something that I'd recommend anyone experience at least once.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I've had some really good holidays through booking through hostels alone.
mm,
And I've had the best time. So, um, depending on obviously which hostel you choose, some can be awful and some
yeah,
can be really, really great. So I always recommend to look at the reviews
yeah, that's something
when
I always
booking.
say. Yeah, because I know sometimes I use Hostel World, and a lot of the
Yeah.
time I've looked at one. It's like if you love partying, go here, but if you want to sleep, this isn't the one for you.
Yeah, yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen those. Yeah,
So,
I've actually stayed in a party hostel when I went to Budapest,
oh really?
and it's called Retox Party Hostel. And if anyone wants to go to Budapest and have a good time, 100%, you need to go to that hostel. It's insane. You won't get much sleep, but it doesn't matter because the memories that you will have is just
Mm.
the craziest ones. So yeah, highly recommend that place.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, you got to experience the party scene.
Yeah, you got to have it
Um,
all, really. Experience it
yeah,
all.
I mean, I don't know. You could tell me how you feel about this. Maybe for a longer trip, the hotel might be a better idea because obviously you're away for longer. I find if I'm only going away for 1 or 2 days, the hostel's a lot more manageable because I'm only there for a couple of days. It doesn't really matter if you miss a few nights sleep.
Yeah, I
What's
totally
your
agree
thoughts
with
on
that.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I mean, I came back from Australia in end of January this year, and I was away for 2 months, and I was just going from hostel to hostel.
Oh yeah, I could
Um,
imagine how
but
that's training.
yeah, um, and I think for me, because I quite like to have a permanent base,
Mm,
going from hostel to hostel was pretty difficult for me. I mean, they were amazing. That there was nothing wrong with them at all. I picked some really nice ones that were dead cheap. But I think, especially if you're wanting to go for more of a holiday and you're going to stay there for quite a while, 100% go to a hotel.
Yeah.
But if you're there just for like a weekend break, hostels are just as good, to be honest. So, and they're cheaper, so can't go wrong.
Yeah, they're definitely a lot cheaper. So just to explore on that a bit more, when you're saying you struggle not having a base, have you thought about how to kind of tackle that problem going forward? If you do another long trip like that, have you given that any thought?
I haven't really, but then I think for me, if I would do like a long trip again, I would probably base myself um in like an area of a country,
Hmm.
um and then probably would obviously, I don't know, maybe live there, and then just take like mini holidays here and there, or like travel around whilst you're still based somewhere. I think for me, I'm I quite like to know that I've got a home and a roof
Yeah.
over my head. And especially when you're traveling. I mean, I've traveled solo a few times before I did my big trip to Australia, but this is the biggest one that I've done. And for me, I did it completely by myself. I left my house, my car, everything behind. So when you go somewhere else and you don't have that, it's like your bubble of security just disappears, and you're like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
have a house anymore. Like if something was to go
Go
wrong, where
wrong,
would I
yeah.
go? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely think, because I was planning to live there, so I think if you're planning to live somewhere, definitely base yourself in a place and then travel,
Mm.
when you can. Um, but longer trips, I think that's probably what I would do now. I don't think I could. And to be fair, I was stupid. I did bring a 30 kilo
Oof.
backpack with me, and when I say I'm tiny, I'm probably like 5'1", 5'2".
Oh, really? That's
Um,
definitely a sight to see, I reckon it.
yeah. Obviously, I had to have all the fashion garments and all,
Oh,
but
yeah, of course, of course.
but I think, yeah, if I hadn't have had that, and as well as my other backpack, which is probably 15 kilos on top of that, I think I would have been much better, to be traveling around to the different hostels. I think it's because I just had to carry so much.
Hmm.
It was just a bit of a nightmare, but I got through it, so it's all good.
Yeah, I really like that idea, kind of staying in a place for like, a few months, and as you say, travel around the area at the weekend, kind of
Yeah.
immerse yourself. I feel like not enough people kind of talk about that in the kind of the travel world. It's all kind of
No.
backpacking, hostel, or the van life
Yeah.
stuff. Normally talks about that slower kind of way
No,
to
and I think
travel.
doing it that way, it's like I've always said, I live in the UK. Yeah, I have not seen a lot of the UK at all.
Mm,
I've probably seen more of Europe than I have my own home country. Um, and I think when you settle yourself somewhere, you just become very comfortable, and you just think, oh, it's fine. Like I've got the rest of my life to see these places. But
yeah, yeah,
actually, if you think about it, it's probably better to see them as much. Like if you base yourself in one place, it's easier for you to then go and see everything in that place, and then venture out to another place and see more of the other place, because people that probably live there haven't seen as much as probably what you have if you were to do that.
yeah. No,
um,
I hear what you're
and
saying.
I'm
Yeah.
all about seeing every single bit of a country, because even like the hidden gems, the things that people probably don't talk about, or you don't see, or you just stumble across, it's probably the best part of that place anyway. So, and you've obviously found it yourself, so that's even better.
Yeah, I mean, my dad lives in Spain actually, so that's how I kind
Oh
of
wow,
relate to
nice.
that. So I've been around kind of the south of Spain and seen probably a lot more of that than I've seen of London.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that you're talking about this because, as I said, I don't think enough people do. I think it's a really good idea to kind of travel more, especially if you get into that kind of nomad way of life. You don't have to
Yeah.
have that such craziness of here, there, and everywhere. It's nice
No.
and there's loads of countries I've been to, and I thought, I've in fact, pretty much every country I've been to afterwards, I'm like, you know what, I definitely need to go back because it's like a list
Yeah.
of things I haven't done.
Yeah,
um,
that's it.
so I think, yeah, no, I'm really glad to hear that. Definitely. Um, so just going back to you were saying when you were so your booking of trips. So
Yeah.
you're saying you look around to try and find kind of the best deal. Is
Yeah.
there like specific like websites you like best, providers?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I probably my top 3 sites I would say is probably Skyscanner, Hostelworld, and Airbnb. Um, I
Yeah, I
used
think
to go
that's
on like these ones. I can't even remember what they were called. Um, I can't remember now, but they were just like, I suppose a bit like Booking.com. But I, for some strange reason, I don't like Booking.com just because of the
really.
price. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's just the layout that they've got. So for me, like I love Airbnb's layout in terms of finding a place.
Mm.
I think Booking.com to me is just a bit too much. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I never really go on it. I think maybe if I spent more time on it, I would probably like it a bit more. But I I probably would compare the prices on Booking.com to anywhere else. So if I found a cheaper deal, I just want to double check against Booking.com it if it's cheaper or not.
Oh, okay, that's
But
interesting.
yeah, I think for me, when I'm booking a holiday, I do a lot of research.
I think that's kind of what you have to do, isn't it? To try and find the
Yeah, I
best
think
options.
people just book the first date. And I think if you can be flexible with your dates, then it's better because then obviously you can get a cheaper deal. But
Yeah.
flights, I used to book flights and hotel together. I now book flights and accommodation separate. So
Mm.
I'll go on Skyscanner. And what I love about Skyscanner is that you can, for let's say you're going on a European trip and you're going to multiple destinations, you can actually put a flight from, let's say, the UK to Spain, and then from Spain to Malta, and then Malta to France, or whatever you want to do. And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
will, you can do like multi trips.
Yeah,
And I
that's a good
really, really
feature.
love that. Yeah, because if if you're going like on one way trips all the time, it can be, it might be a little bit cheaper doing it that way.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I found actually. I usually book like one flight at a time, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So I was
yeah,
like,
so
in
much
fact,
cheaper.
I'm going to come on to this question next. So when I'm deciding for like where to go, sometimes I just go on Skyscanner and I go on the everywhere option to see what the
Yeah,
cheapest is,
nice.
and then
Yeah.
if it's like a really cheap one, I just book it and I don't even think about how I'm going to get back yet, and then I look for a flight back. Is that something you've done or can relate to?
Um, I probably haven't, but I think if because I was working before, so it was a little bit
Mm,
difficult for me to sort of do that. But I think now if I was to go away again, I would do that easily. Um, and I think I actually from Budapest, I didn't get a flight, but when I was in Budapest, I did actually just get a bus to Vienna. But I
ooh,
had already booked my Vienna ticket back, which was through Skyscanner as well. So I had my return flight. Um, so I just had to make sure that I got to Vienna in time,
mm,
and then make sure that I was ready to go back when my flight was. Um, So I guess I've done it that time, but other than that, I haven't done it any other times. But I would probably do it because I think it's just really easy and cheap.
Yeah, definitely. And for just to go into more on that last bit about when you say you're taking a bus, because I've taken. No one really talks about coach travel because obviously it's not that
No.
glamorous. But
Yeah.
like, how have you found it? Is it something you recommend? Because it is so much cheaper sometimes.
So much cheaper. I think I paid €14
Oh, that's so
for
good.
a bus
That's
from
so good.
Budapest to Vienna. And I think it wasn't that long either. I think it must have been like 2 hours
Oh,
maybe.
really? That's really good.
Yeah, it wasn't long at all. I don't think it was, I'm pretty sure it's 2 hours, but don't hold me to that. Um, but yeah, I 100% would do bus travel, train, anything like that, 100%, because obviously flights are more expensive, especially
Mm.
if you just go to Europe. So I've been to Rome before, and I was there for like 6 days, I think, and it was a bit too much for Rome. So I thought, oh, I'll just book a train ticket down to, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Vietra Salmer or Mar. I don't
I
know.
don't
It's
know.
by the Amalfi Coast,
Oh,
and that
nice.
wasn't that. That was a day trip, and that was really, really nice. You just sat on the train for a few hours,
Mm.
and then you were there. And you can just hop on and hop off quite easily and go wherever you need to go. But I would highly recommend it. It's dead cheap. Um, and also you get to see, so especially on a train, if you're going on a train, you obviously get to see different sites as well on the train journey.
Yeah,
Bus, it depends on obviously what time of day you go. I went in the evening, but yeah, if you went through during the day, you'd still see different sites as well. So it's another way of, I suppose, seeing the country.
yeah, totally. That's something I've kind of enjoyed, taking trains in other countries, just looking out the window.
Mm.
Gives you, feels like you're
Yeah,
kind of seeing more of it.
yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely agree. And I'm glad you're another advocate for coach travel.
yeah,
uh,
100%. I literally did. So my Australian trip, I did the whole of New South Wales, so Victoria, New South Wales, and Queensland, so all up the east coast. I did that all by bus,
well, that must
and
have
I
been
think I
some long
had,
bus journeys.
yeah,
Yeah.
really long. I think I had two sleeper buses, which were like 13 hours long. So
Ooh.
I would get on at 9 p.m., sleep on the bus, and then I would wake up, and it would be like 7 a.m. or whatever, because obviously the
Mm.
time zones are a little bit different in each place. But
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, that was, it wasn't actually that bad. Like, I would highly recommend that, especially if you're going to Australia, go on the Greyhound bus. Amazing and really, really cheap. You get your money's worth.
Yeah, I think overnight coaches are a really good idea. I've done an overnight coach to Paris before,
Oh,
and
wow.
that is like 10 hours. But I the same as you. I thought it was fine. I just slept.
Yeah.
But I feel like you need to know what you're getting into. It's not going to be lovely, but if you
Oh, no,
know,
it's not going to be glamorous.
yeah,
No.
exactly. But if you're okay with that, then yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
advocate the coach travel. Definitely, because I think it cost me like €10 to go to Paris.
Oh, my God, that's
Yeah.
insane.
So yeah, definitely recommend if anyone um, wants to do very cheap travel.
Mm.
Um, yeah, cool. So moving on from that, what's the best country you would say you've been to so far?
I would probably say Croatia or Greece. I can't really
Ooh,
decide between the two.
strong contenders.
Yeah, they're the top ones so far. Croatia. I mean, I haven't heard a lot about Croatia at all, and I haven't really seen that many people go to Croatia out of like friends and family. So it never really occurred to me till um, I actually saw one of my friends that went on a Sail Croatia trip, which is
Oh,
basically you're sailing
nice.
around to Croatia and the islands because they've got
Mm.
so many. and I was like, that looks really fun. So I booked it, and it was the best week I've ever had, I think. It
Really?
was, yeah, honestly, it was just so good. And I was younger then, so I think this was my first solo trip by myself. And I think that's probably why it means such a lot to me.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, the country itself is just so beautiful. The ocean is so clear. The islands are just, they're just so beautiful in their own way. Um, Dubrovnik is probably one of my favorite. Dubrovnik and Split out of Croatia is probably my favorite. But it was a party, like sailing trip, so I was drunk most of the time. So from what I can remember anyway.
It was great.
But it was really, really good. And if anyone wants to go on a party holiday, Sail Croatia 100% is just so, so good. You have so much fun. And I actually am terrified of the sea.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, so I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna hate being on this boat because I do get
Seasick.
like seasick. So
Oh,
um, but actually, it was fine. I didn't even
really?
feel a thing. I think
Even
I
with
felt,
the alcohol as well, there wasn't there?
even with the alcohol,
Really?
I
That's
think I was so
impressive.
probably, yeah, I know. I don't know how I did it. I think everyone was just so drunk that they probably just got used to it. I don't even know how it happened. I
Mm.
think once we felt it, where it was a bit like chocky, but we were just coming off the boat. So by the time we got back on, it was absolutely fine. Um, but yeah, that was my first solo trip, and it was just incredible. And the people I met as well were amazing. So I had a really good bunch that I met along the trip with me.
Nice.
Um, but then Greece, obviously, Greece means a lot to me because it's like my second home anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I just think Greece is just so different to other countries. It's the way it looks, and it's really weird because even when, like the other day, I came out of my house and I was like, oh, it smells of Greek air. I don't even know if that's a thing, but it generally did smell like Greek air. I could just smell this this distinguished, I suppose, air to me that I've grown up on when I was
Mm.
younger, and obviously visiting my family. So I think with the white buildings, the blue sky, the blue sea, it's just it's just really dreamy there.
Yeah,
And I think
definitely.
anywhere you go in Greece is just I don't think there's one bad bit that you can go to. Like anywhere you go is just really pretty. Um, Even where I live, which isn't even anything special, that like it just I don't know, it just blows me away every time I go there.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to dive into from that. When you were saying Greek air, that's funny. I remember the first time I went to Spain, and
Yeah,
I smelled the Spanish air for the first time. I was like, whoa! Like, so I kind of get what you mean with that.
yeah.
And I remember writing that in an English class, like a couple of years later. My English teacher thought I was
Mm.
crazy, so I'm glad someone else can
Oh, thank goodness,
can
because
relate to that.
every time I say it, people are like, "Yeah, you're just going crazy." I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm
Like, no,
really not."
it's different, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Yeah. And when you're saying it looks so different, that's something that blows my mind when even just going around Europe. I mean, think how much the bigger the world is in Europe. And in Europe,
oh,
there's so many different places that look so alien to here. That's why I just don't
mm,
understand anyone who can go to Europe and then
yeah,
be like, okay, I'm done traveling. Like, I've seen it all.
yeah.
Like,
I think Europe is probably one of my favorite. I haven't been to Southeast Asia though yet,
yeah,
or a lot
neither
of
have I.
America. So
It's on the list.
um, I can't wait to go there at some point. But I think at the moment Europe really stands out for me. America didn't really stand out to me. I've only been to New York City,
Hmm.
um, and obviously Australia is known for its beautiful beaches and landscapes. But I think for me, Europe has so much history in terms of the way the houses look, the all the buildings or the roads. And I was actually speaking to my boyfriend about this the other day, and I was just saying that Europe alone has just got so much to offer, and everywhere you go in Europe, it just changes. So if you go to France, it's going to look different to Spain. If you go from Spain
Yeah,
to
totally.
Croatia, obviously it's going to look really, really different. So that's what I really love about Europe. Australia does look different, but sometimes you feel like you're in America. Sometimes you
Really?
feel like, yeah. Have you ever been to Australia?
No, not yet.
Yeah, so it's really weird. It feels like what they've done is taken bits from Europe and bits from the UK and bits from America, and it's all very modern out there, which is lovely. Um, but it seems like I've I think I went to Surfers Paradise and I was like, I feel like I'm in America. I don't even feel like I'm in Australia at all because it didn't look anything like Australia to
Mm,
me in my head. And like the houses, some of the houses look very American. So it was just really weird to see the difference. Um,
mm,
but yeah, I definitely think that about Australia. But then again, I've only been to New York in America. I haven't seen anything else in
mm.
America. So
Would you say
yeah,
that Australia is kind of like, it looks like kind of like the gateway between Europe and America?
yeah, 100%.
Because like it's interesting you say that. I haven't been yet, but I've been. There's a couple of places it's made me think kind of similar things to that. So I went to
Mm.
Dublin, and in
Oh
Dublin,
yeah.
I thought half the streets I walked down, I was like, this looks just like London. And then you
Oh
turn the
really?
corner, and it was like you were in like a kind of classic Northern European city like Paris or Lille or
Oh
Brussels.
wow.
And I don't know if you've been to Dublin. Um,
Yeah, I know I haven't been,
Oh, I
but I'd
definitely
love to go.
recommend. But yeah, so I had that kind of feeling there. And then
Oh, okay.
I went to Marrakesh, and that kind of felt like the gateway between Europe and Africa.
Oh, okay. That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, so it's super interesting that you said about Australia. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, um, I
Yeah,
feel like
definitely.
there's a few of these gems out there that are kind of these kind of mixes of different influences and cultures.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Um, and I suppose because Australia's pretty young as well,
Mm,
compared to other countries.
yeah,
So
definitely.
I think that's probably they got their inspiration from the other countries. Um, but yeah, it's very modern, very very modern, very clean. Um, they pretty respect their country, so which I love about that country. So
That
um,
sounds super cool. I'm definitely excited to visit.
yeah,
I've got
I
to
think.
ask though, how did you find the spiders?
Do you know what? I didn't actually see one spider.
Really?
I
Okay,
saw
that's
more flies. I have never seen the amount of flies that I
oh
saw in
really?
Australia. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
that's kind of
Um,
giving me doubts already.
it's it depends because it depends where you go. So I did Western, South, and East. So
Hmm.
Western Australia is probably the worst.
Really?
Um, yeah, and they do recommend because it gets so bad at points that you just need a fly net. But I didn't have one, and I remember just going to this beach called Shell Beach, and it's basically full of just white little shells. And the amount of flies, because there's quite a bit of a walk to get to the beach, the amount of flies, like you look like you're a crazy person because you're swiping your head and to other people you can't see the flies, so you just think that their head's just going from left to right all the time. You're trying to knock these flies out of your face.
Really?
And they do
Oh,
say that there is like this wave where obviously the fly wave where you just swat away the flies. But if you don't, if you obviously to me, I just laughed at it because if I didn't, I would just probably cry. It was just
yeah.
I've never seen that many flies, and they're so annoying. Even when I was going to sleep, like I could hear the flies in my ear going. I was like,
Oh,
and then I actually thought that they were there, and they weren't at all. It was just me because I was just hearing it so much.
yeah, playing mind games on you. Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds challenging, but
Yeah. Other than
yeah.
that, spiders didn't see any of them. I saw one small snake in the wild. That was nothing.
Okay, so that's
But
better than I expected, to be
yeah,
fair. Yeah.
honestly, people say about all these, obviously the spiders and the
Mm.
wildlife out there, but I think you're probably sharks. I didn't see any sharks. Um, thank goodness. But there's a lot of jellyfish, so much jellyfish, and I was terrified of that. So if you ever go, just be wary of the blue bottle jellyfish.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah.
awful.
That does sound
Yeah.
fun.
No.
Cool. So that's super interesting to hear. But now I want to get into kind of how you're now feeling towards travel, given COVID and post-COVID, going forward. You know, how are you feeling? Are you on the first flight out of here, or are you going to be much more cautious going forward? And if so, what does that kind of look like? Yeah, you know, tell us your
Um,
thoughts.
I think for me, because I've just come back from a big trip, it hasn't really affected me that much. I think if
Mm,
people haven't been on holiday for a while, it's going to really affect them in terms of they just want to get out and see the world. For me, obviously, I still want to do that, but I'm taking it in slow steps, I suppose. Um, just because I've just
right.
come back from a big trip. So for me, I would probably take it pretty slow, um,
Hmm.
only because obviously it's going to be a bit strange being in an airport. I
Yeah,
don't know how
definitely.
that's going to look like, if I'm honest. I try and visualize it and I think, no, it can't be like that. That doesn't feel
Mm,
surreal. Um, so I think I would be very wary, and I'll probably be more cautious. Um, but then I don't know what the future's going to be like. So if everything turns out okay and this COVID situation goes, then I think everyone would just be back to how it was before. But then I don't
yeah.
know. So it's really weird.
Yeah, definitely. Difficult
But
times.
yeah, and I think for people that, because I know a friend of mine in Australia, she actually hasn't seen her boyfriend for quite a while, who's actually in the UK. And there's so many people that are, you know, their partners are in different countries or their families are in different countries and they
Mm,
just want to get back to them. I think if I was in that situation, then I'd be on the first flight out. I probably wouldn't think
yeah.
about it too much. Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually in that situation. My girlfriend's Canadian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm I'm hoping to go to Canada in August, but right now the border's shut. So
Oh, no.
yeah, I'll be on the first flight out. But yeah, I hear
Yeah.
what you're saying with the airports. It's going to be so weird, and you don't know what countries are going to be doing temperature checks. So is
Yeah.
that something you're going to look into going forward, like checking all the different country websites, seeing all the stuff that they've got in place?
Um, I don't know. I don't think I would. I don't think I would go that far. Um, I think I would probably just check what the situation is probably like in that country in terms
Mm.
of, not in terms of what they're doing, but you don't want to go somewhere and then figure out when you're out there that everything's shut and you can't actually do anything.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
the
want to
thing.
research
Yeah.
it a bit. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult and very weird to begin with, I think, um, for a lot of people. But I think in the future it'll probably be as if it never happened. Um, but then I don't know. I like the things that are going on in the UK, especially with the shops and the shields that they're putting up. To me, I'm thinking, how long are they going to keep those shields up? Is it going to be a forever thing, or is it just a temporary thing?
Yeah,
Because
this is the
no one
thing.
really knows, do they?
Exactly, exactly.
That's the thing.
Mm.
And obviously travel is going to go crazy 100% when all the borders have opened up. I think it's going to go really crazy. Um, so yeah, it's a difficult question really, because everyone would obviously love to go to a different country. They're probably sick of their own home now.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was in your situation, I would probably be on the first flight out. 100%.
Yeah. That's definitely the plan.
I
Um,
definitely feel for people that, because if I hadn't come back when I did from Australia, I would still be out there, and I probably wouldn't be
yeah.
able to come back till next year.
Yeah, this
Um,
is the thing. Like, I
yeah,
mean,
so
if you did go as well, and then the situation got worse while you were there, and then you got
yeah,
stuck there, I mean, that's something you kind of have to factor into your thoughts now, isn't it?
exactly. And
Yeah.
obviously, you've got to think about accommodation, which I wouldn't have had, um, because I was just staying in hostels, and obviously the hostels shut, and then the borders closed, so you would be stuck in that one place.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done out in Australia. So I'm pretty glad that obviously I came home when I did. Um, but I think for the people, I do feel really sorry for the people that can't see, um, their families, or if they had a trip to see their family before, or like yourself with your partner out in Canada. It's
Yeah.
yeah, that's a tough call.
Definitely. I mean, as you're saying, with hostels, is that something that is in your thoughts going forward? You're less likely to stay in hostels now, given the whole social distancing. Because I mean, personally, I think that's probably around for a while. The whole social distancing thing.
Yeah,
And
I
in a
think the
hostel,
social distance.
that's pretty hard.
I think hostels will probably struggle after this a
Mm,
little bit, just because of that. Um, I think Airbnb and like, I don't know about hotels though. I suppose you've got your own room, and I suppose you can keep your distance. Um, so I think hostels will struggle, because obviously, especially if you're in a dorm, how are you going to keep your distance? Um,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
so yeah, I think they're going to struggle a bit, but I think for me, I would probably, because obviously me, when I said earlier that I've been in hostels for quite a while, I think it's time to have a bit of a break for a little bit. And maybe even if I did go to a hostel, I'll probably book a private room now,
Yeah.
um, just to give you that extra bit of that space, a bit, I suppose. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm super into hostels, but I'm kind of on the same page just from the whole distancing
mm,
perspective. I think probably do a bit more private room or stay in hotels a bit more, at least for the
yeah,
next few months.
yeah,
Because yeah, it's just the whole. Obviously, you're so much more at risk as well.
exactly,
You don't
yeah.
want to then bring it home to the few people you live with. So yeah, I think
No,
that's
definitely
definitely
don't.
in should be in the thoughts of everyone. And as just a
Yeah.
quick question on Airbnb actually, because I've never done I don't know if you have, but I've never done this because you can stay in a room in someone's flat or house that they rent out. Is that something you've done before?
Yeah, so do you mean that so they can actually be living there and you just
Yeah,
like
because that's
like a
what I see
house
a lot
share?
of the listings being like they're renting their room out, but they also live there as well. Is that something
Yeah, no, I have
you've
seen
done
that.
that? Yeah.
I've never done it.
Oh, okay.
I've always gone for like the entire place.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I've never done it like that. I suppose for me, apart from the hostels, if I went through an Airbnb, I think I'd prefer to have my own sort of
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know, when you're living with someone that you don't know, you feel like you're treading on
Intruding on
eggshells a
their
bit. You don't know what
space.
you
Yeah,
could do.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
So yeah,
especially
it's a
with
bit difficult.
COVID now as well, you don't know. Like that makes it more
Yeah.
difficult because like you could have it or they could have it and you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
so
I'll probably
yeah,
avoid that for a bit.
yeah. No, definitely. I was just interested to see if you've done it because that's not something nothing I had done, but I know it is cheaper to do that. But
Yeah.
um, given the
Yeah, I've heard people
context,
do that.
it's probably not the best idea right now.
No, I wouldn't
Um,
recommend it right now.
and following on from that, do you think? Obviously, I've seen a lot of articles recently talking about how much more expensive travel is going to be because of COVID. Um, and is that something that you're kind of worried about or thinking about?
Mm,
Or what are your thoughts on that?
it's really weird because I think at the minute, so if I'm talking like right now, I think one, the airlines don't really know if they're actually going to take the passengers or not. My
Yeah.
sister actually just booked a flight to Greece to see my dad, and it got cancelled by the airline
Ooh.
because they can't have something to do with um, like the amount of passengers on the plane, because
Yeah.
obviously I think at the moment that what they're trying to do is have one person on each row instead of having
Yeah,
three
I've
people.
seen some do that, but then I've seen some being like, "We're not doing this. This is a terrible idea." So,
Yeah, I think it really depends on the airline.
yeah.
I've seen some people obviously have and some people haven't. But I think so at the minute flights are a bit up and down.
Mm.
They can be either really cheap or they can be really expensive because they don't know, nobody knows what's going on. And obviously I think what they're trying to do at the airport is stagger the flights so that there's not too many people in the airport
Oh, really?
itself.
I hadn't.
So
No, that's interesting.
this
Makes
is what I
sense though.
think. Yeah, this is what I think just by because when my sister said that her flight got cancelled, I was looking at other flights for her and I was saying to her, the thing is, I think they've probably given flight the flight time like probably 40 minutes
Mm.
gap between
Yeah,
flights.
makes sense.
Um,
There's not too many people in the airport.
that's it.
Yeah.
But then obviously if one's delayed, then they're going to be hitting the same arrival time as the other plane, other company that are coming in.
Mm. Oh,
So
that's a good point actually. Yeah, more
yeah,
delays.
it's a bit of a, it's difficult and it must be so difficult for them to try and figure out because it's not just one country, it's every single country that they're going out to.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so obviously it must be really difficult to try and plan that out. So I think it can either be really cheap or it can be really expensive depending on the flight company, I suppose. Um, but then I think at the moment, I think the flights and the accommodation might be cheaper because I think I've heard that Spain are going to be doing really cheap holidays because of obviously they're trying to get their tourists back because like
Yeah,
Greece,
they're so dependent on
and
it as an economy.
yes,
Yeah.
and Southeast Asia, they rely heavily on tourists, especially the Greek islands. I know that for
Mm.
sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so I think they might start doing it really cheap, and then eventually it will. I don't know whether it will go back to what it was or it might be a little bit more expensive. For obviously the UK next year is going to be more expensive anyway because we'll have to pay for visas to go to Europe anyway. Um,
Well, I mean, no one really knows what's going on with that, do they?
yeah, I don't know. I think I
Complicate
read
matters.
something, and I thought I really need to get my Greek passport
Yeah,
because
you've got it
I'm
good.
sorted.
I'm stuck with the
Yeah, thank
shitty
goodness.
UK one.
Oh, I feel really bad. Um, but yeah, I think once I get that, I think I'll be okay. But it's just nobody really knows, especially with UK leaving the European Union. I don't know what's going to happen with that anyway. I haven't really been following it because I'm not really interested in politics and stuff. But um,
Mm.
yeah, I really don't know how that's gonna
Yeah,
go. But I think maybe, but then I suppose like hotels and flight companies might think, okay, everyone's had the chance to realize how much they need to travel, and they've probably taken it for granted for a little bit. So maybe we might put the prices up so that, you know, they actually realize how easy they had it before, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Um, so I don't know. It could be really expensive, and then it could be
yeah.
dead cheap to begin with. So
I think a big factor in it will probably be how confident people are traveling. If there's a huge, I mean, I think this is how airline pricing works anyway. You know, if there's a huge
yeah,
demand, then the prices go up. So if
oh,
everyone feels
100%.
comfortable enough to travel, the price is going to be more expensive. So, you know,
Yeah,
so I guess it's going to be interesting to see how many people are in the mentality of, I don't care, I'm going to travel anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's very difficult to kind of book trips right now because there's so many things you can't control, things that you don't know what's going to happen.
No, that's it.
So,
Nobody really knows what's going
yeah,
on.
yeah, it's a very difficult time, but
Mm.
I think, I mean, I'm personally, willing to accept the risk. But
Yeah.
I'm young, relatively healthy.
Yeah.
So for other people, I can appreciate that it's a much more difficult decision.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I think people, especially, there's some people that it hasn't really affected them at all. Some people it's affected them a lot.
yeah,
And I really feel for those people
yeah, no,
because
same
obviously it's
here.
been pretty hard. Like I know my nan, she lives by herself, so to have literally no one to talk to has been really, really hard. And obviously she can't go out to get the food shop or anything. So luckily my mum and her sister have been going and sitting out in the garden to talk to her,
Oh, bless
just to
them.
keep her company, yeah, every day. But I know for a fact she's really struggled with this whole
Yeah.
COVID situation. And I do feel sorry for the elderly because obviously it's affected a lot more elderly people than it has younger people. So
Yeah,
for them
definitely.
to say to them, you can't, it's for you to risk your life, it's not really worth it, you might as well just stay in. And my nan, luckily she can still go out, she can still walk and everything, but then being told that you
Have
you
to be at
can't go
home.
out,
Yeah.
I think it makes people want to go out more.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah, and it was interesting to see that translated into travel with the Foreign Office. So like, still,
Yeah.
even though they're having these air bridges and they're like, there's reports of, oh, we will be able to travel if they say, oh no, we still advise you against doing that. It'd be interesting to
Yeah.
see if people were like kind of that same mentality of, well, I don't care. In
Yeah,
fact, just because you're not telling me, I'm going to go anyway.
that's it. And I think for me, I reckon younger generations are more likely to be on the first flights out rather than
Yeah.
elderly. Just because obviously it's affecting more elderly people. So
Yeah.
I think for them, they're probably more likely to stay in till it's a little bit calmer.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that gives opportunity to younger people if, there's
Yeah,
less demand because some of the older generation aren't traveling as much, that there will
yeah,
be cheaper
exactly.
flights, cheaper hotels. Yeah, so that's something you
Yeah,
think as well, yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Um, I think it will be the younger generation that will be leaving their wherever they are, the countries first, and I think it will be cheaper for them.
Mm.
Um, you know,
Yeah, so
so
the
yeah, I definitely
opportunity
agree with
is
that.
definitely there if you're young, you're willing to accept the risk, and you're desperate to either start traveling or get back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. um, so I think we're gonna wrap it up here, Lucy. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Yeah, please everyone make sure that they go and follow Lucy on Instagram. Lucy, could you say your Instagram one more time?
Yeah, it's WorldWanderingLens.
Yeah, everyone should definitely go check it out because honestly, super amazing photographer.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you for being here, and hope everyone tunes in next time.